Hello, friends and family. Hi. Yeah, sorry, I don't know. So I'm going to apologize immediately for this hideous glare thing that's happening on the front here of my glasses, and normally I would do the review without it, but I look really tired, and so we're just not going to do that. So I brought visual aids this time. I've got like a whole pile of things right here I'm going to talk about. Also, I know that there's a mirror right there, and I can awkwardly say hello to you, but, sorry. Right, so things. Okay, so it's June, and it's like 75 degrees outside right now. So, all I gotta say to all you people that live in the South is suckers! Because I don't even have my air conditioning on. I have a fan in the window in the other room. That's it. Yeah, it's nice. But the temperature here, rather than doing like the thing that Texas does where it just like gets freakishly hot and stays there and then gets hotter and hotter and hotter and hotter and then kind of thinks about going down. Wow, that was way out of it. That graph looked a little bit like this. We get like these funky little hot days. Like Wednesday and Thursday, it's supposed to hit 90, and then by Saturday, it's supposed to be back in the 70s. But, so in a freakish mode of panic, about a month ago maybe, it got really hot one day. So I chopped all my hair off. Isn't it lovely? Look, it's gone. It doesn't even touch my shoulders. And I don't know what it looks like back here, but look, there's like none of it. I've got hairs right here that are so short. Anyway, I just figured I can review this later and see what the back of my head looks like. That's so fun. Right. Anyway, so let's see, things to say. Ooh, I hung up another bookshelf all by myself. Look, it's right there. Because I'm sure that all of you are very aware of the fact that I have a serious book problem. Yeah. And so I just keep bringing home new ones, thinking that somehow they'll just magically fit onto the totally full shelves. Which they don't, but can't help it. I love them. So that's a nice little segue into my first pile of visual aids. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some fun books, because that's what I do. Yeah, this is like in no order whatsoever. So my first book I'm going to talk about is this book called Show Me a Story, and it's got Pigeon on it and Duckling right there, from Elephant and Piggy and Mo Willems and so forth. Anyway, this is a actually rather thick book that talks about, as it says here on the bottom, why picture books matter. And they found all of these authors, whose names are listed here on the back for all of you, and they talked to them about why they write and why they do picture books. And most of these people, actually all of them, I think, are illustrators, either of their own work or of someone else's work. Like Quentin Blake, for example, illustrated the Roald Dahl books. So anyway, it's really quite fascinating, and it's got these cool little pictures in the middle of like, let me find a good example. I didn't prepare that far, sorry. Well, from Sylvester and the Magic Pebble, for instance, like of how the author, camera's not big enough, like sets up these storyboards and then like what the final product look like. So he does like the illustrations and goes, oh, there's gonna be some words there, and then in the final one, like what the illustrations look like. So anyway, it's really cool. and it's got Mo Willems on the front, who I love, and this picture is perfect. Show me a story. And then the penguin, they're just like, no. Anyway, that's an awful lot what it feels like to write as you're sitting there bashing your head into the desk with crumpled manuscripts and feathers all over the floor. Yeah, well, maybe not the... No, the feathers are there. So anyway, visual aid number 1. I'm so proud of myself for preparing this time. I, like, walked around the house getting them. So then we're going to get into some books that I'm reading. So I just finished reading this book, Margaret Atwood's The Handmaid's Tale. This is one of my all-time favorite books in the whole history of the world. This particular copy, with its spine that's kind of peeling a little and not looking so awesome, which is full of underlining, which I hate. But at the time that I read this book the first time, see all the orange? Yeah, that's my highlights. This is my copy from high school. And I read this book the summer before my senior year, and I wrote a, like a Spark Notes thing. All the little highlights, you put them in one column, and then you did like the significance of it in the other column. And my teacher that year, who had never seen my writing, accused me of plagiarizing. Wasn't that fun? So, but anyway, one of the best books in the history of the world. If you have not read The Handmaid's Tale, it's really skinny. See, it's just really, really little. Take 2 days. Read this book. It's gripping. It's like, it was written in 85, so I feel special because it was my birthday. And it's wonderful. It talks about kind of like this world in the future in which some sort of really horrific bad thing has happened and people can't like reproduce because they're not totally fertile. And so these handmaids, these women in the red here, are sent to go and live with these really well-to-do couples and bear their children. And it's horrible. And Margaret Atwood is one of the greatest authors in the history of the world. And so it's wonderful. Yes, no matter how many times I read this book, I love it more and more and more. So anyway, go read this. So as to books I'm reading currently, so I was meandering around in my store the other day and saw this cover and went, ooh, the Titanic and the Statue of Liberty, they don't belong together in the same picture. So I went, and so I've started reading this book, and it's a hefty 700-page book. So I've had to pause occasionally and read other things in the middle because it gets very, very confusing. But this book is called The Company of the Dead. And the idea is that this guy in the beginning of the book inadvertently gets sucked into a time-traveling device and goes back in time to 1911. And so he starts to think, well, I'm stuck here, so I might as well do some good, you know, because, I mean, I'm not going to be around for, like, several more years, so, you know, maybe I should, like, do some good things. So the first thing he decides he's going to do is going to be to go onto the Titanic and give the lookouts some really awesome binoculars, hoping that they will see the iceberg, miss the iceberg, and carry on into the harbor, saving thousands. Well, I mean, almost 2,000. Anyway, so, but as anyone with a good time paradox history knows, you really can only kind of change the past, and by changing the past, you screw up the future. So the Titanic actually misses the iceberg it's supposed to hit and hits a different iceberg instead, which is irony at its finest. And the guy that went back in time is like standing on the boat and he's watching the thing sink and he's like, really? This is okay. So anyhow, what happens though is that different people get off the boat. So like John Jacob Astor makes it off the boat. And because he's got lots of money and political influence, the U.S. doesn't join the war, and then Japan and Germany are the major powers, and the U.S. is like all divvied up. And anyway, it's just like totally messed up, hardcore. So then this group of people, descendants from the Astors, by the by, find his journal and go, oh, there's a time machine. So what we'll do is we'll just go back in time and we'll stop him. And then everything will just go along the way it's supposed to go. But, you know, people don't want them to go back in time and change history, and it's just... If you've ever read Dan Brown, it's kind of like that, except on crack. There are entirely more characters than you could ever possibly keep track of, and it, like, requires note-taking. And the story's very complex, and all happens over the course of, like, 3 weeks. Okay, this book, 3 weeks. This book, 6 months. Yeah. So... But it's wonderful. Like, I cannot wait to finish it and find out what happens. But it's spectacular. Like, anyway, it's awesome. So, if you're into, like, I'm going to call it extreme reading, The Company of the Dead, pick it up. So, as I mentioned, I'm interspersing other things, because there's only so much time paradox one can take. So, I am revisiting a series that I had started before and hadn't finished them because they're girly books in which there are no time portals, there are no robots, there is no space travel. It's a little weird for me, but charming. So this is the third book in the series, The Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, which hopefully you have all heard about because there was a movie. Anyway, it's just these charming, these 4 girls who in this other picture, see, don't they look happy on the other covers? See? Yeah. Anyway, they're best friends, and every summer they wind up kind of having to go their separate ways, and so they have the traveling pants, this magical pair of blue jeans that they're convinced like does wonderful things. And so they send the pants back and forth around to each other, and they're all kind of going through that phase. Like this book takes place the summer after they've graduated, but before they go off to college, and all the girls are just sort of kind of trying to deal with growing up and what that means, and the fact that it's kind of sucky sometimes. But anyway, it's wonderful, and I'm actually going to read a quote to segue into my next thing. But I gotta find it first. But I found it the other day, so it shouldn't be too hard. Anyway, so things are really cool though here. I mean, in addition to reading like 6,500 books, Mike's had the same problem too. Like he's had to make a list of all the books that he's bought and not finished reading, and after he reads 10 of those books, then he will allow himself to buy another book. It's not working though. He bought a new one the other day. But still, he's trying, and God love him. Because I can't. I don't even know if I'm going to be able to find the quote this time. I found it really well the other day, but I don't know if it's going to happen this time. No, because I've already flipped way past it. I know I have. Anyway, it's kind of